Good afternoon, Sergio.
Hello, Vicente.
How are you?
Fine, thanks. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Let's see if this time technology give us better chances than 2 days ago. Okay, so I'm gonna just introduce the session, and then we can just start with the live chat. So welcome everybody to this World Triathlon. Well, this live chat with the World Triathlon facilitators. He is Vicente Beltran from Spain, and I have the pleasure to be alongside Sergio Santos. For those that are not familiar with us, just as a small introduction, I'm part of the development team in the ITU or the World Triathlon, and I'm in charge of running development camps, the level 1 and level 2 coaching courses, and I'm also in charge of developing some of the content that has been recently launched from the ITU, from the World Triathlon. And I have the pleasure to, as I said, to be with Sergio, and I'm going to give the floor to him so he can introduce himself.
Thank you, Vicente. Hello, everybody. Hello again. Let's hope this time everything goes well with the internet connection. Well, my main job is to be performance director, technical director from Triathlon Brazil. Well, the job was for Tokyo 2020, so let's do it for Tokyo 2021. I'm mostly in charge for everything around program, budget, logistics, preparation, and things like that. I also have my own company working with some pro athletes, trying to qualify for the games, but also with age group athletes, and trying to work with these age groups and to enable them to have access to some testing and planning that a few years ago was only possible for pro athletes, but now age group athletes are more and more demanding, and even if they are not training so much, they deserve to have the best in terms of what is the access of information to be well prepared for these races. So I'm based in Portugal. I'm at the office right now, but my office is 200 meters from where I live, and nobody's outside. That's only what I do, is walking 200 meters from my home outside, getting the office, staying alone, not doing any testing, nothing, just in terms of remote working, and that's it for now.
Thank you very much, Sergio. So the main goal of this chat is first to discuss a couple of topics between the two of us, and especially through this difficult time that we all are experiencing worldwide. And secondly, we're going to give the chance to whoever is watching and would like to ask questions regarding mostly development, but if it's anything related to training, we'll be more than happy to answer them. So if you agree with me, we can leave like 20 minutes at the end of this chat, and then we just, as I said, give the chance to whoever wants to post a question there in the chat, and we can go through it. Are you happy with that?
Let's go for it.
Okay,
Let's
good.
go.
I need to say we only have 1 hour. In 1 hour, Instagram will kick us out. Okay. So, Sergio, I would like to hear from you how your athletes or the people you are working with are coping with this period, with the lockdown and with the inability to train. Well, I don't know how is the situation there in Portugal, but here in Spain, all the training centers are closed, and we are not even allowed to go on the streets for training.
Well, at the start, I believe it was more difficult because there was this pressure of the Olympic Games for the elite athletes, the qualification, and they didn't know where to race, if they could race. Or now that we know that the Games will be 1 year later, I think things are easier. In Portugal, people can still go out, but you cannot take your car to go to a training location. You don't have swimming pools, you don't have tracks. But if you want to go from your apartment alone, not contacting to anybody, just go to the woods, have your easy run, and coming back, you can. So mostly what the athletes are doing, they are running outside, but alone, and mostly in places that nobody's living. So if you are living in countryside, things are easier compared to athletes living in big cities. They are training on home trainer. That's all the bike, it's on home trainer. They are not leaving the apartment. Some athletes, they have treadmills, so they can run with good quality on treadmill. And they work a lot on some strength, some conditioning, and they work mostly with stretch cords in terms of what is the swim, because they are not allowed to swim in open water or to go to the swimming pool. So that's mostly what they are doing. But my indication by now is we know that for the next 3 months there will be no racing. ITU just announced this morning that till the end of June, and depending on how the virus just goes, but we know at least that for the next 3 months there will be no races. And maybe we have a chance to have some races, maybe September, October, November. Let's hope that we can have a trimester of racing by the end of the year. If it's the case, what I've been planning for the athletes is very simple. They keep with some aerobic base. They keep to work on strength and power and to work on speed. But we don't work on metabolic zones like threshold or VO2 max. We are not working on that. We just work on aerobic base, speed, power. And when we know when they will be able to race, then in 6-8 weeks, we will be able to build and to start to work on that metabolic markers again and to come. Otherwise, if they keep stimulation in high intensity, they will get injured. They will be burned out of not racing very close to this moment. And what is the most important now? It's to keep healthy, to keep focused, to have some energy, and mostly mental energy when you need to start again to be able to do it.
Yeah. I think that's a common mistake we are seeing all over the world, and we already shared some advices or training recommendations from Roberto Tejuela through the Education Hub, whereas he was recommending to lower the amount of time you are spending training indoors. So let's say, if, for example, you used to do 1 hour 30 on the bike outdoors, that equal to 1 hour inside, because you never stop pedaling and the training load is different. Therefore, you should consider those things when you are training indoors. The problem with a lot of people, and especially age groupers, now that they have more time for training, they want to train more than they used to train before. And we're going to see a lot of people getting injured or overtrained during this period. So coming back what you said, I think mentally it's really important to keep the athletes not entertained, but I would say in a steady mood, and not stressing too much, because of the fact that most of them, most probably last race they did, you in Portugal had the Duathlon Championship at the beginning of the year, but most of them, perhaps the last race of the season was in November, December. So they've been almost 3 months already, or 4 months without any races. So that's like putting a lion in the cage.
In Portugal, it was even possible to have one triathlon in Algarve, in south of Portugal, I believe the first weekend of March. Then everything was locked down after that. It was at the limit, but some athletes were still able to race in a triathlon this year already.
Okay. So just like, have you lowered the amount of training load the guys are doing indoors compared to the training load they were doing outside?
Well, if they are running outside, we keep running outside. Okay. But of course, they are not going to the track. They are not doing some very heavy stuff. But we keep a basic volume. And I would say the elites still, they are able to run 60 to 80K. It's not an issue. They can run 5 times a week. And it's, for them, it's pretty easy to run 5 times a week, 10 to 15K, something like that. Mostly aerobic. But as I said, with some short stimulation fast, they can do it on the treadmill. But in terms of what is the use of the home trainers, well, they should reduce it something like 20 to 30% in terms of timing, because as you said, they are always pedaling, and it's really, really accurate, and it's really demanding. I mean, with this technology now, like Zwift or whatever, if these guys, they have 10 reps of, I don't know how many minutes of 200 watts, it's 200 watts.
Yeah.
And when you are outside, sometimes it's not 200 because you feel a bit tired, so it's only 180. The only good thing is that because precisely you are not going out, most part of the athletes, they are also having lots of rest. They are having a siesta every day. They are, yes, that's true. They spend lots of time on the sofa or on the bed in between the sessions, watching TV. They are not attracted to go to the shopping mall, to go to the restaurant with friends at the evening. They just stay home. So even if you are training, like I would say 3 hours in a day, 2 or 3 blocks of 1 hour or something like that, you still have 21 hours that you are mostly sleeping or watching TV or reading. So that's the only positive thing about recovery.
Okay. So usually, for those that don't know, we have these kind of chats when we meet in our courses. We always go out for a run before the day starts, early run, and we discuss. Well, actually, that will be our coffee talk during the courses. And I wanted to hear from you. What are, since a lot of the people who will be listening now are coaches that have attended or will pretend or will come to some of the courses or camps we do. So basically, development coaches. What are the main pillars of coaching for you?
Well, for me, it's it depends on the level of the athlete, of course, but the pillars in terms of training, it's basically what is the technical aspect of everything. It's speed. And yesterday when we started, or 2 days ago when we started to talk, we have approached it a bit. And I was trying to explain that the common mistake of most part of the athletes, or with some coaches with less experience, they like to start immediately with the whole thing, and they started slow, and step by step with work, with training, they make it faster and faster and faster. I work the opposite way. I don't like to work, okay, I start on 10K for 45 minutes, and then every season we start to work to make it short, and the next season you run 43, and the other one you work 41, and the other one you work. No, I like to start to work with young athletes to run 1K in 2:30. That's what is difficult. And the difficulty is to run fast. I always give this example. Like people say, oh, Ironman is something really hard. I say, no, it's easy. If it would be hard, not maybe 500,000 people would cross the finish line every year. What is hard is to run 1K in 2:20, because only 5 guys can do it per year. That's the hard thing, you understand? So running 1K, it's hard, not making a full Ironman. So my principle, it's very basic, is trying to make the young athletes very fast, and then to try to increase the lengths and the duration of, they can maintain this speed, to make them able one day maybe to run in 28 or 29 if they are boys, and we are talking about pros and elites, and to run maybe in 33 or 32 or 34 minutes if they are girls. Because once you are adult, then to have huge gains on speed, that's a difficulty. So technical aspects, technical drills, mountain biking, lots of biomechanics on the run, and technical aspects as well. Of course, all the technical aspects of the swim are the most important, as you know, and speed. And then the other pillar, it's about teaching young athletes to be patient and to wait. In endurance sport, it's something that the young generations, they have difficulties. Now everything goes so fast and everything happens immediately. And it's not easy to try to pass a message to somebody telling him that, okay, you are 16 and maybe if things goes well, in 10 years, you can do something.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. So, yeah. But in terms of what is performance, well, absolutely. Technical aspects, speed. In terms of what is the mental approach, be able to be patient.
Yeah, and handle the pain, actually, and the will to train. Because I had a couple of coffee talks this week with different coaches, also high level coaches who have athletes racing in the circuit. And they pretty much share the same thing you are saying. Unless you have the technique well developed and you are fast, it's going to be really difficult to make it, actually. So it's not only and I think you have experienced this especially during the level 2 coaching courses when we show how the Alistair Brownlee training week looks like. All the coaches are taking notes. Or when we show the slide where when Jorgensen training week looks like, everybody's taking notes, and we're like, okay, listen, that's not what you need to do right now, and this is not what you actually should be doing. No, so the young coaches, I also think they don't have the passion that we are asking the athletes to have. They want to go too fast, burning stages, and they forgot about the very basics. And I do agree with what you are saying. The technique and the principles have to be pretty developed before aiming higher goals, right? So that's, I think, a good message for the coaches who are listening, and especially for those that are building something new in the countries.
Absolutely. The principles behind the training, that's what is most important. Of course, when we just show a slide of one training week of any of the elite athletes, everybody's just taking the camera and taking a photo. But then immediately the message we just pass them during the courses, it's about what are the principles and what is the reason why this athlete is doing this or why this athlete is doing that. Another example is when we talk about training peaks during the courses. We just touch a bit training peaks. And in terms of what is the interaction athlete and coach, and in terms of what is a tool, I believe it's a fantastic tool. But what we have been facing during the courses, and just to talk about fast things, is that some guys, they are already amazing in terms of what is the use of this tool of training peaks. So they are very good doing it. Yeah. But the thing is that what they put inside the training sometimes is so wrong. So they use the tool fantastically, but the content, then the content and what they are asking the athletes to do, they don't have all this training principle and all this physiology and methodology base, and they are just lost. So what they do, and it's easier to do, it's just copying something that should have something already good. Yeah, definitely. And this is I don't know if you will agree on me or not. There are, at least here in Spain, we are facing a lot of problems with those called influencers that they just prescribe anything. Before they used to go to nice places and take pictures and promote themselves, but now since they have to be at home, they just became personal trainers or nutritionists or whatever. So those guys lacks on the knowledge that is required to properly put things on, as you say, on training peaks or in a piece of paper or wherever. And they tend to do that, copy paste, but they don't know whether what they are doing is true or right or not. So we always recommend them to go to the right sources for finding the right info. And I do believe if you don't have the principles of physiology clear enough, you cannot start prescribing exercises. That's to me the first golden rule. I totally agree. I think the influencers are really important in terms of what can be a message of motivation, of making people participate on this or on that. So they are really good on that. But once they try to get in some technical aspects, well, I think that they are losing it.
Yeah. So Sergio, you've been around. I tend to say that you've been around longest than the blue carpet in transition area. So how have you seen the evolution of the development through all your career working with the ITU?
Oh, things have been going really in an amazing way. I started the first time I was in a development training camp. It was for World Championship in Edmonton as a ITU coach, 2001, so almost 20 years ago. And then I started to be facilitator 15 years ago in 2005. And well, things were just going amazingly. Now everything is more structured. I believe a marker was the BG team with Libby Burrell. It was the first step in terms of trying to put on a development team and to have a real sponsor. I believe it was the start of what is now A6 team, mostly.
Yeah.
And in terms of development, well, as coaches, we were just asked and required to participate in the course using mostly our expertise. So there was already theory, a base, but the contents and everything that was passed during the course was something much more individual, depending on who was the facilitator. What we have been doing now is building a process, building a pedagogical way of passing all the contents from level 1 to the last level. And now we are following things step by step easier. And I think that, of course, adapting to different realities, depending the region where you are teaching, and you've been teaching in some very complicated regions sometimes. Of course, we need to adapt a lot. But I believe now things are more uniform and are more equal in different courses we've been facilitating all over the world.
We have some successful, I would say, coaches and athletes that were like 10 years ago taking part of our development camps. I was having a chat yesterday with Arild, from the head coach of Norway, for those that don't know him. And I remember Norway came in 2011 to Alicante for one of the development camps. And then Arild was with you in New Zealand. Yeah, I don't know if you can recall that, 2012, right? So,
yes.
Like back in 2012, they were an emerging federation with a few athletes, and look where they are now. So what's for you key when it comes to developing a nation or a group of athletes in such a hard environments as Norway, or everywhere there are issues. We go, as you say, I go to different countries all over the world. I cover pretty much the 5 continents, and everybody is facing issues. But I'm telling them, you are not the only one. So what's for you is key when it comes to development, either your environment, your team, or your federation, your small federation?
Well, it depends a lot on what is the politics and what is the way you want to put on things. I'm a big friend of Arild, and we've been talking about many times about the way things were growing in Norway. And things are growing in Norway in a very similar way that they were growing in Portugal. You have different ways of making things grow. Of course, the theory would say that you need a large base, and then you have this pyramid, and then on the top of it you will have this very, very competitive athletes. But sometimes you need to start by the top. You need to show the way, because you don't have money. You don't have enough coaches and enough locations with the proper condition for high performance training. So what you need to do is to pick up 2 or 3 guys, a team, to make this team perform, to make people believe that they can do something, to make your Olympic committee, your sponsors, give you money because you start step by step to show results. And then lots of people will be interested in being part of the process. In Portugal, it was like this for running, for example. As you know, Carlos Lopez was Olympic champion in marathon in '84, and 4 years later, Rosa Mota was Olympic champion in '88. And the base was not there in terms of running because we came from a dictator in 1974. So not so much people was running in Portugal in the 80s, but after these two athletes were Olympic champions in marathon, everybody wanted to run, and it's very popular now. In triathlon in Portugal, it was the same. With the team we have built after Sydney in 2000 and showing step by step that we would be able to get results, to get medals, then everything was starting to be built down. And with Arild and with the team in Norway, it's the same. When they came in 2012, it was the first medal an athlete from Norway was able to make. Like Christian was a bronze medal in juniors in 2012 in Auckland after this development camp. But he was already working in a different way. It was always the guy that, okay, we have 4K to do, and Arild and Christian were asking, can we do 2K more? And they were staying for 6 or 7, not for 4. And we were going for 2 hours, and they were coming back, and they were just saying, well, maybe we go just for 1 hour additional. So they were working already in a base that they wanted to do something different, and they did it. And the talent was there, and lots of work, and it works. So sometimes you need to show the way with just a few people to be able to convince that lots of people can do it.
Yeah, definitely. Even with the technical aspect, or the technical part, I remember seeing Christian practicing transitions in Alicante in the middle of the corridor just before going to bed. So it's not only how much extra work you put on the track or the swimming pool. It's just polishing these small details that at the end of the day makes also sense. Okay, so in terms of the games, and because they'll be postponed, as everybody will already know. So was it a relief for you as a coach, and also you felt it was a relief for the athletes as well?
Oh yes, I believe it was a relief for everybody. For me as a coach, for the athletes, and for me as technical director from Triathlon Brazil. We were not able to plan anymore. We were spending money in some traveling or on some hotel reservation that 48 hours before traveling, or even 24 hours, I remember with Abu Dhabi, we were informed we should have traveled on Sunday, and we were informed on Saturday that we could not travel. And so people was trying to prepare to be peaking for a race. The athletes were resting for something that would not happen, and it was not possible to keep it. So I even think that this decision could have been taken even earlier. I know it's in terms of economical issues, it's something really big, it's billions, but I think when things started in March, we should have immediately be able to take this position. It was hard, but okay, we are still on time, but it was good for everybody. Now we have time to plan. Still, we don't know what is going to happen at the end of the year, but we have time to plan accordingly.
Yeah, well, at least there is a date for the games, and it's actually gives you a year and some month to proper schedule everything. So we still don't, as you well said, we still don't know when we'll be able to travel or to train normally.
And it's going. It's just to say that I believe it's going to change a little bit the game.
Definitely.
These athletes, younger athletes that were almost there, but maybe too short.
We have 1 more year.
This may be in 1 year, may be enough for these athletes with 38, 37 that, okay, I can hang on 1 more year. They need to hang on 2 more. And it gives more time for these faster, younger athletes to grow and to be stronger. So maybe the average age on these games because of this year is going to decrease a little bit. Maybe a few athletes that were just at the end of the career will not make it anymore. And maybe a few athletes that were still too young will be able to make it.
That's what Javi was saying the other day, interview, that actually this change is not good for him because he's going to be 1 year older in 2021, and obviously age goes or plays against him, but he'll do his best to be there. But I do agree with you. So especially for the mixed team relay, there might be athletes who were not ready yet, but with 1 more year, that will be amazing. But coming back to what you said about taking the decision, that's just something that caught my attention, because sometimes we are reading the news and we are reading what is published and we give our opinion, but we don't really know what is behind. And I read something that was really interesting. That the Olympic, because you've been in several Olympic Games, the Olympic Village tends to be sold for these citizens, so that after the games that became the apartment and houses, so everything. So there was a huge problem because in the contract said the keys were going to be handled in October for the owners. So now even the owners of those apartments need to wait 1 more year to get the apartment. So financially speaking, that was a big thing. So it's just like small details that we might not know them, and those kind of decisions are bigger than we think sometimes. But,
absolutely. So many things that we don't even remember. I mean, it's investments of billions that, and even something like silly things like I was watching on the screen. Like I have this cap, Tokyo 2020. Imagine the millions in merchandising around 2020.
It's not going to change the logo. It's not going to change. It's going to be 2020.
But it's something like, you understand? Somebody will create something 21 or it's
there are a lot
crazy.
I've seen a logo that says Tokyo 2020, and the last zero became a O of 1. So it's written 1 in letters. So interesting. I've seen, because you're based there in Rio Mayor, and there have been a couple of teams already training there, looking for testing the adaptations to the heat. So heat is going to be an important factor for the games. So what kind of strategies or training are you doing in order to get used to the heat?
Well, I mean, there's lots of strategies in terms of adaptation, but the main strategy is the real thing. I mean, it's like if you want to perform in altitude, you need to train in altitude. That training in altitude and racing at sea level, well, it depends. But to race in altitude, if you don't train in altitude, I don't think it's possible. And for the heat, it's exactly the same. That's why I think that most part of the teams will have training camps in very similar condition. For example, our plan for 2020, and now it remained the same for 2021, it's to have the last 3 weeks in the same environment as Tokyo. So what we will do in terms of the Brazilian Olympic team is to be based something like come to Tokyo, nearby Tokyo, 1 hour something by car to the Olympic Village. So come to Tokyo 12 days before going to the Olympic Village, and then going to the Olympic Village for the last full week when you already have the official familiarization, you can run on the course, so it will make at least 20 days, the last 20 days in the same environment, the same time zone, and to be able still to put some quality work with the same kind of environment. And during the year, if you have the ability to do it, but then there's lots of strategies, like you were talking about Rio Mayor. For example, when Arild was here for the training camp in January, February with the team, and the guys were doing sessions of to acclimate. They were staying in the room and or going to the gym with the heating and air conditioning on in the morning before the breakfast, and it was home trainer or running on the treadmill, and to put humidity and to rise the temperature, and the guys were doing it on a regular basis to have this adaptation not only to the time zone, because when you train at 4 a.m., you know that in Tokyo it's 12 or it's so not only to adapt to the time zone, but also to adapt to this heat condition, because they were going to Thailand as they did for training camp after this training camp here in Rio Mayor. So you can try to, of course, simulate. We know that some labs, they have chambers already with heat and humidity with exactly the same as Tokyo, and they are working inside of it to make testing to see what is the needs of the athletes in terms of hydration, in terms of sodium, in terms of whatever, to be able to work on that on time with the athletes.
Do you think as a coach, the heat is going to be key in the final result of the race?
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
Oh, yes. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be the athletes. They will struggle, some athletes, and only athletes really adapting well to the heat will be able, of course, it depends on the condition of the day, but I'm pretty sure that the athletes adapted and ready to perform in very, very warm condition will be performing better than other guys.
Yeah. Okay. Moving back to the to what you mentioned about the physiological aspects of the athlete preparation. So what are for you the key physiological parameters when it comes to the current competition format?
Well, I would say that not talking about the technical aspects, let's talk only
about the
what is
physiology,
the physiological aspects. I would say that the game and the big challenge of a coach is to deal with three things. Let's say that we all work with very, very talented athletes. So let's say that they all have a very high VO2 max.
They have the engine, we'll say. They have the engine.
They have the engine. Our job as coaches is to be able to do the following. First, to approach the threshold, the LT2, as close as possible to the VO2 max. That we know that the VO2 max with very, very talented athletes, you cannot move it too much. It's mostly about body weight management more than anything about the VO2 max. But
the economy
LT2,
of movement
threshold,
at the end.
Yes, but the LT2, you can just rise it, working probably with the proper stats to make it the closest as possible to the VO2 max. On the top of that, they need to be really powerful. They need to have the ability to have a very, to have the ability to concentrate lactate and at the same time to remove it, because now it's very tactical. You have very big hills during the races, you have attacks, and the athletes, they are not, it's not like long distance, just pumping at a certain level and stay. No, you are working always like this, and every time you go over what is aerobic and you enter in anaerobic, you just need to recover from it. So the ability of making the athletes going to something in terms of lactate and coming back to aerobic, it's also the main key. So huge VO2 max talented athletes making the LT2, the threshold going up, and working with what is all the metabolics of the lactate to be able to produce lactate, to remove it, to produce lactate, to remove it at the same time, and to sustain very high lactates for certain periods of time, because it happens during the major races.
Definitely. I was discussing with Joe Schumann a couple of days ago, and he mentioned that Yokohama circuit had over 200 turns. There was a little bit less, but kind of that. So after each turn, there was a sprint. So that when we are talking about physiology, one sprint is max effort that you have to repeat over time 200 times within 1 hour 10 or something like that. But on the top of that, you don't have the same recovery you have when you are riding alone or on your home trainer, because you still need to stay in the pack. So it's something that you need to train. Otherwise, you just not be able to handle the group. So
yeah, I agree. But at that level, like Henry Schoeman is racing, or like Joe is planning for Henry, there are things that you cannot plan in training. You cannot plan in training. That's why the athletes, they are only able to race at a certain level after racing it a few times. And I'm talking about WTS. Yeah. Some athletes, they can perform in World Cup or in Continental Cup, then they struggle in World Cup and they adapt, and then they struggle in WTS. Because the only way to train for certain things is during racing. It's not possible. Like I remember Rotterdam in 2017, 3 years ago, in World Championship, it was the same. It was 60-something U-turns. All these U-turns, you were able to record 800, 900, 1,000 watts. It means that it's a rate in 55 minutes of bike of every 40 seconds, 800 watts. You cannot put in planning for an athlete for 1 hour, okay, please warm up and now just do me 50 reps of 800 watts every 40 seconds. It's not doable in training. The only way you can do it is you are in the pack, you are following the right wheel, and you fight in a racing condition. That's why the athletes, they need lots of experience. The cyclists, the pro cyclists, they say exactly the same. Like, okay, they can train really hard, they can go do hills, they can do whatever, but the only way to handle the pack, it's when they start to race and to stay 1K, 10K, 100K, just at that speed, that RPM inside the pack. That's why the cyclists, they always design, and the coaches, they design the season that they need athletes X number of Ks in racing to be able to peak. And because they know they cannot do it alone in a training condition, only by racing. So what I say is that training can be modulated and can be adapted to the reality of racing, but I would say that it's easier, for example, for long distance. Yeah, no. Easier in long distance, you can prepare your athletes for a scenario that, okay, you need to pump 300 watts for 2 hours, for 90K, for 70.3. That's much more about it. But in terms of WTS, only by racing and racing and racing and racing, these athletes will be able to be in the front pack. That's why these athletes, they are looking also for experiences in French Grand Prix. That's why they are racing. They want to race together because they know that they can only improve if they are racing against each other.
That's why, that's my opinion, but that's why I do believe the training groups have become so popular in the past years, because that gives you actually okay, it's not the same as racing, but if you have a strong training partner stretching your neck day after day, then it becomes not the race day, but similar to it. So could be that one. So Sergio, we have like 14 minutes before the live chat ends. So it's not that we're gonna end it. There is no more time for that. So if you agree, we can just open the questions for whoever wants to drop one, or we continue with what we discussed previously.
Let's go. If okay. We have questions on the screen, we just try
Perfect.
to.
Definitely.
Well, meanwhile, we continue our talk.
Yeah. Meanwhile, and let's try to. Here is the first one. So, we can run at home.
Okay. To replace the swim.
Swimming, yeah. So go ahead.
It's not easy. As I was saying at the start, well, most part of the athletes, they are using stretch cords. Some very lucky athletes, they have some Vasa swim trainer, ergometer, and it's good. It's if you have a swim ergometer, well, it's very good. And some very, very, very lucky athletes, they have a small swimming pool at home, and they just work with a rope or with an elastic band, and they just work on periods of resistance training. Of course, if you have an endless pool, and some guys I know, they have endless pool at home, it's also very good. And I also know that some athletes, they have a house just with a deck to a lake or to the ocean. And these guys, I don't think the police will come if they just go to the water. If they just dive from the window, have a swim and coming back, some guys have also this advantage. But if you don't have access to anything of that, you need to work with cords and with very specific strength conditioning exercises that will try to work on the main movements of the swim.
Yeah, I can say in Spain, since we are not allowed to go out, some of the athletes have bought this inflatable ball swimming pools you put on your garden for the kids. And then
yes, I saw that
with the elastic rope. So I think Roberto Sanchez Mantecon just got his a couple of days ago, and he was, or yesterday I think, and he was swimming with that one. Okay, so we can just grab another one. Which one comes after that one?
Yeah. Lots of. I saw some questions about how to improve confidence and the relation with the athletes. That was one of the questions. I can try to answer on that one. What is the most important is the athletes, they need to feel that you follow all the process. So you need to plan according to the goals, but you need to have a very, very straight and close communication to the athletes. I mean, the ideal, it's with elite athletes, is to be with the athletes on the pool deck. When they have hard sessions, to be with them and to talk to them, to feel exactly if they can go faster, to make some testing and ask them to go slower. So what will improve the confidence of the relation coach and athlete is the athlete to feel that you know what you are doing, you know why you are doing, and you care about what you are doing, and you follow everything. Even now that the athletes are staying home, you can follow all the process, again, with Training Peaks, and by having a look to what is happening in terms of all these sessions, and to have this feedback. Okay, don't do it too fast, don't do too much, why didn't you do it, let's try to move it like this, let's try to move it like that, and to listen to the feedback of the athlete. So I believe the more interaction you have, the more confidence and more your athletes will trust on what you are doing for them.
Definitely. I'm seeing a lot of questions regarding kind of, questions about specific training, physiology, etc., etc. If you agree, because this is actually part of our courses, we can collect them all and just make a post in the coming days answering all of them. Because if there's one here, I'm just reading what kind of training moves the threshold closer to the VO2 max. So actually, this one, threshold training. but that's the simplistic way of answering this one. And behind that one, that there's a long physiological explanations that we won't have time to answer it here. So if you want, okay, there is another one here, Sergio. Despite the curfew, how do you periodize the strength training?
How do I periodize the strength training?
Yes.
Okay, so usually I start to work on some muscular adaptation, and at the same time, at the start of the season, immediately I start to work on speed as well. And when I say on speed, I say in short stimulation under 10 seconds. Things really, really short. Why? To try to work immediately on the economy and try to work immediately on breaking the barrier of what is muscular. So when we get to what is metabolic, what about working the engine, the limitation will not be the muscles anymore, because you will be powerful, you will be fast, and you can work isolated almost in terms of what is the metabolic part. But in terms of strength, Well, some kind of adaptation, some kind of base, and trying to avoid periods related with hypertrophy, but there's always a little bit. And then mostly it's working on maximum strength. It's the recruitment. It's to give the ability to the athletes with low number of reps to work with lots of weight, with low number of reps, so no gains of muscular mass, and at the same time, very huge and high gains in terms of real power. Just pumping will not make it. At the start, it's very important, of course, because of technical aspects, to work with lower weight and to make the athletes learn how to do any movement with weights or with no weights. But then, what is the most important, and is to give the ability to the athletes to use all these connections in terms of what is the muscular fiber. That's what will make the difference after all.
We also need to be really, really careful when it comes to the exercises athletes are doing nowadays indoors, because I've seen many people warming up because they cannot run. They warm up with the jumping ropes, or they go upstairs. That's plyometrics, actually. So it's good warm up, but it's also high intensity exercise. And then
oh yes,
if we don't quantify that and we don't carefully schedule this kind of workouts, we might end up overtraining athletes. So these kind of exercises like jumping ropes, going upstairs, etc., have to be properly prescribed in order to preserve the physical condition of the athletes nowadays. So that's also part of the, I'm saying, challenge we are facing nowadays, because we don't have everything available at the moment. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I have my opinion, and we have another question about at what age do we peak in triathlon? Well, I would say that 20 to 40, depending on. I've been saying so many things, but it's a sport of endurance, so we need to wait. We need to be patient, and I would say that the boys would be at the best age from 25 to 35, and the girls, they can start maybe earlier because of the maturation. Everything happens a bit earlier. Some girls are really performing well at 20, 21, 22 already, but you have amazing girls at 36, 37, 38. So I would say from 20 to 40, depending on what you have done before and your different individual aspects, you can be a top athlete. But talking and coming back to warm up, I have also my opinion about warm up. I believe that everybody is warming up too short. Usually they want to get in the real thing as soon as possible. Sometimes because there's a real lack of time and they have this, I don't know, number of reps they need to do on Zwift, and they just warm up 10 minutes and that's it. Or when they go to the track, they just want to jog 3K and then immediately go. My opinion that most part of the people is warming up too short. I like long warm-ups, or if you can, have an activation before breakfast. Like imagine you run 30 minutes, you have some technical drills, you can even have some strides before breakfast, and then you have the breakfast, and after you're resting your breakfast, you go for the main set already with an activation. So I think now people that have more time at home, instead of increasing this huge amount of high quality workout, just keep it, don't exaggerate, and make a proper warm-up with taking care of all the technical aspects before getting in the real thing.
Yeah, I think now it's time for that, not just to focus on those areas or types of workouts we tend to forget because of the lack of time, and now you can do that. So working on the mobility, proprioception, etc., that those are what I would say, the ugly guys in the classroom. Nobody wants to do them, or nobody has time to do them normally. So it's a good time for those ones. Sergio, I think we need to wrap this up because it's almost we've been almost 1 hour. We take all the questions you have posted there, and we'll try to do something with those, like a post or through the World Triathlon social media accounts or the website. We're going to see how we're going to do it. Thank you very much for all the people that have been there listening to us. That, as I said at the beginning, that will be a normal conversation before our courses in the morning and our runs, but this is the only way we can do them now. So thank you, Sergio, for all your valuable inputs.
Thank you, Vicente. Thank you, everybody. And well, keep training, but staying at home right now. I think very soon everybody will go out, and maybe summer in Portugal, July and August, things are going to get better, and we'll see each other for sure in very short time all over the world. We just
looking forward for that. Looking forward for that one, Sergio. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.